So just how bad was it really inside the US Ryder Cup locker room? Well, some new details have emerged, including a player who has spoken up saying that he has heard directly just how much infighting was really happening in that locker room. And just to bring you up to speed, and as a reminder, one thing that was kind of said ultimately and many times was this idea specifically about Patrick Cantlay allegedly not wearing a hat in protest over the players not being paid. It's something that we talked about a little bit here, and it's something that not only did Patrick himself, but many of the other players involved vehemently just denied as being any type of truth. However, just the other day, in a recent interview with PGA Tour Radio, we've heard from Lucas Glover, who spoke up, and we're going to read his quote here just in a second. But Lucas was yet another one of those guys that very well could have and maybe should have been considered as a Ryder Cup pick. You know, there was really arguably no one who was more in form at the moment than Lucas Glover.
Right. Yep.
You know, he won the Wyndham Championship.
He's a back-to-back guy. Yeah.
Back-to-back at the FedEx St. Jude. He was
almost a lock to be on the team.
Hot. Yes.
Yeah.
And he was one of the guys who did receive that disappointing phone call from Zach Johnson saying that he was not making the team. He and Zach are close. So there was a little bit of a friendship there that I don't think Zach was going to in any way try to come at him. But what he did say was that when he received the call from Zach Johnson, he said, I could tell by Zach's tone that I didn't make it, and I didn't want to put him through any more than he was already going through calling guys. So I just kept it short and told him I understood, even though I was probably lying. So he was a little bit disappointed. So one thing I will say is when we read any type of quote like this, I'm not in any way inferring anything. I don't know Lucas Glover. I don't know what that relationship looks like, but there's going to be cynics who say maybe he was just upset about not making the team, and a little bit of that rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah.
What some of these statements that he made. However, let's read the statement and just quickly break it down. He said, "It broke my heart the week after to hear how splintered the room was and things about money and different things. That's not what the Ryder Cup stands for, and I'm not just going on what I've read and what I've been told. I've talked to some people who were in there in the fight, and it breaks my heart to hear that because it's not what it's about. That's not what it stands for, and that's not why I want to play on that team."
Interesting.
I mean, you don't have to be a genius to read. There was some fight about money.
Absolutely.
Some fight about money. And other than if you wanted to make the argument that he would bring this up and kind of stir the pot because he was somehow salty about not making the team, okay, I think that's the only thing that you could try to be super cynical and say. Otherwise, I don't see a whole lot of motivation for a guy like Lucas Glover to come out and say this.
Right.
I think
Exactly.
there was more going on there than what's put on. What do you think?
I agree with you. You're right. Because at this point, I mean, what does he have to lose? He wasn't vocal when he wasn't picked, right? Keegan was really the guy who was vocal kind of leading up to the event. No one ever heard anything out of Lucas Glover camp, at least not that I know of or I've read about or heard about. So, yeah, for him to say that kind of now, you know, maybe there was something going on in there. And I believe it.
There's a big part of me that says like something had to have happened. Maybe it wasn't specifically about money or whatever, or maybe when it comes down to Cantlay, the hat was not worn for some other reason. But there's just too much here, and there was too many signs of it that day, even like with cameras not really being allowed, not allowing the Netflix documentary to get involved.
Hold that thought. They weren't allowed in the team room, Netflix, but they were there. I think we might see something come out of it still. Someone might have said something outside the locker room, but it makes me even think more, why were they not allowed in there?
Yeah.
Like, it must have been bad.
And these things, they don't stay out of the light forever. I think that eventually something is going to come out. But you guys tell us, what do you think ultimately was going on behind the scenes. And what do you think it caused Lucas to speak out and to say what he said here about the splintered locker room? I think that no matter what, as much as it was tried to be dismissed as a non-story or something that was made up by the press, there's just too many now fingers and indications being pointed that something truly happened. So we're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to see what happened, but it seems like there was something that happened there. And I think eventually, like you said, it's going to come to light.
Yeah.